right, everybody, welcome into the late week edition of Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. I am Paul Russo. Across from me, as always, Kyle Evans. Kyle, happy Thursday. Quite the interesting week, though. I know I said off air to you, and there's plenty to talk about as always, but it might be, through no fault of really anybody's own, one of the shorter podcasts we might ever do.
Yeah, and we can thank the air quality, I guess, for that one. And, I mean, we do have some, I would say, injury updates, at least, for the Yankees. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a lighter week with the air quality.
Yeah, and it's not just, obviously, Major League Baseball getting affected by this. It's pretty much every level. And we're, from that's what happens when stuff happens behind there. It's like, have a serious moment, I laugh.
We'll make it.
I mean, everything from major leagues to the minor leagues to indie ball to the collegiate summer leagues, little league, adult leagues, so on and so forth that have been affected by this. So it's been trust me, I know it's been a busy week in terms of the back-end logistical scene of things, but it's been, in terms of action, a fairly quiet couple of days so far to get everything kind of going.
Yeah, and lots of rescheduling. That behind-the-scenes stuff is always tough to try to figure out when to make up games. And now the Yankees have a doubleheader today.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but it does help that this is their second or third day off in the last week.
And they have another one coming up on Monday.
Yep. So I guess it's not too bad.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it could obviously be worse, and you can't really complain in that sort of sense, really, in the grand scheme of it. Before I go any further, handle podcast business like to thank DeSanto Propane. 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. You can go online to DeSantoPropane.com for more information, or you can call them toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane. And Finger Lakes Partners. Get the insurance you need from the people you know at Finger Lakes Partners Insurance, the Finger Lakes Insurance Agency for your home, auto, or business. Get a no-obligation quote today at FingerLakesInsurance.com. 1937, by the way. Go back to that DeSanto thing. Trivia time. Do you know who won the World Series that year?
I wouldn't even have a guess.
Nothing?
National League team. But even though that wasn't a thing, right?
No, that was a very real thing. Pretty sure it was the Yankees.
Really?
I'm halfway certain. Either them or the Cardinals.
Where's that? Let me try to do math quick. What, like 90-something years ago?
Yeah. No, 86.
Jesus. 86 years ago.
Good news, I was right. The New York Yankees over the New York Giants.
Well, in my defense, the Yankees have won so much, it's hard to keep track.
That's why I like doing trivia time. You never know what might kind of pop up every now and then to just throw your way. And plus, we have a couple extra minutes here as we jump in. Look, the Yankees have lost their lone game this week, and that was a 3-2 loss on Tuesday night, where it was certainly quite the interesting backdrop as we had, I believe, I'd call the national audience's first full-fledged look at maybe what was kind of in deck and on store for what was going on up our way. So we'll preface it with this for the people who may not be local to us here in the Finger Lakes. We're upstate New York, obviously, so we've been more than well within this air quality issue as well. And like I remember waking up, for instance, yesterday, Wednesday, and I woke up to nothing but orange. It was just orange outside, and I know it got a little bit better throughout the day to the point that about 7:30, 8 o'clock last night, I kind of looked outside. I was like, it doesn't appear to be that bad out. This morning, same thing, about the same as I'd say last night. I think the smell of burnt is gone, which is nice, but it's still kind of lingering a little bit and stuff like that. But the backdrop in New York was quite something Tuesday night to get that game going. 3-2 loss, as I mentioned, and I know you were worried about him, but I think we have to at least mention this to the point that Clark Schmidt, again, with another quality start. Now, I know he got dinged. Was it all 3 runs credited to him, I believe, right? Or was it 2 of the 3?
All 3.
All 3, right? So I know maybe to the to do the Eric Spoelstra line, the untrained eye, it may appear that I don't know what you're really talking about, Paul. How is that really quality? Well, he put the Yankees in the spot to still go out and win the game. And at this point, if you're Clark Schmidt, these are the type of starts you need anyway. And now he's really building it up consecutively at this point, to a point that I don't think you can really, I don't want to say pull him out of the rotation at the moment, but he's become a really more important cog in it than I think initially planned.
Yeah, he has been better. Here's something I didn't realize the other night until I was looking it up. I tweeted it out. He hasn't received any run support in the last 3 starts. So that's, frustrating for him. Like you said, he went 6 innings the other night, gave up 3 runs. The offense should be able to do enough against that White Sox pitching staff to, at least, fight more. I mean, they were getting no hit through the first 7 innings.
Yeah.
And just uncompetitive at bats. They had a few walks mixed in there, but yeah, if you're Clark Schmidt, you're like, man, I need some run support. 3 straight starts.
Yeah, and I think this is where we can kind of jump into maybe now this portion of it. We off air, and I'll bring this portion of the conversation to light here a little bit. Off air, we were talking about a little bit, but Josh Donaldson, and this is why I was intrigued to see his fit in the lineup at this point coming back, right? And I get it. It's probably still not maybe where we would probably want it to be, looking at it from the grand scheme of it. But, to quote whoever said it to you, Kyle, the other night, it wasn't a meaningless home run Tuesday. It was a very important home run. And I'm not saying that nobody else but him could have done it or anything like that, but that's why is important for this Yankee lineup, especially, and we'll get to this obviously in a couple minutes here, especially with Judge going down, albeit who knows how actually long it's going to be. But you got to have at least that veteran bat somewhere in that lineup, in addition. I know it's sprinkled throughout anyway, but Donaldson's a guy that can give you that home run lift when you need it. You can't necessarily say that about a guy like DJ LeMahieu, who's known more for his contact than his power. And that's where I think a spot like Tuesday night, he hits that home run, brings the Yankees within 1 run to the White Sox. I think that's where his fit in the lineup is now at this point, is especially the next really week or so here at least, because I know, not to jump too far ahead, the Judge IL placement was retroactive to 4 days ago. That I'm not going to sit here and complain if he goes 1 for 4 with a couple strikeouts, but he's the person who gets you the 2-run home run when you need it most, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, one thing that I think will even surprise you here, I saw it the other night, I forgot who tweeted it out, but Donaldson has 5 hits this season. Granted, he was on the IL for a while, but 4 of them are home runs. And in 3 games, he has 4 strikeouts looking. Yeah, he's had a couple big home runs, but he hasn't been terrible, but we do need him to do a little more, especially with Aaron Judge out.
I think that'll come with just getting a few more at-bats at this point.
Yep.
Obviously, I think in the grand scheme of it, right, the Yankees probably were hoping they would play yesterday to some degree because it just gets the continuity still going for whether it's a guy like Donaldson, right, or any of these other guys that have now come back within the last week or so, right? Whether they use Canely again, which I don't know if they might have. It's going to be interesting to see how the doubleheader works today in terms of that. But, Stanton getting him just more reps at the big league level, stuff like that. So
Donaldson took Clayton Kershaw deep. I mean, that's not any easy task.
No.
So that was good to see. Mm-hmm. So he'll probably get going here a little bit, and he's been playing a great third base. I don't know if you've seen, but some great plays down the line and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's still, at worst, as I'll put it, he's still a contributing ball player, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny that portion of it. Obviously, age is fickle. Nobody defeats Father Time at the end of the day, so it will be interesting to kind of maybe see how well he holds up for the rest of the way or anything like that. But, for the moment, right, you can't maybe ask for too much more until he gets, like I said, just maybe more reps underneath him at this point.
Yeah, and I think you said it well, too, with Stanton. He's had some good swings on some balls from what I've seen, but timing might be a little bit of an issue still. But, more at-bats. Remember, when he gets going, he can carry a team, and it'd be amazing if he could start doing that.
Yeah. All right, enough about one game this week, because if we really want to do dissecting of things, then this just quite isn't the platform nor really the time for it, because there's going to be plenty more to get to here, I'd assume, next Monday with everything. All right, let's do some updating here. Let's start with Aaron Judge, placed on the 10-day injured list. And in the Today You Learned categories, you learn something new every day. Did you know, Kyle, that your big toe is not technically medically called a big toe?
Yeah, I kind of caught on to that last night.
Yeah, so Aaron Judge has a right great toe sprain. Your big toe is your great toe?
Yeah, I put it in parentheses when I was writing the article last night.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, okay, that's a little different terminology.
So I guess credit to the Yankees for going for the full-fledged proper medical note with that. So, obviously, like I said a few minutes ago, retroactively placed to June 4th, 4 days ago. So he is eligible to return on next Wednesday, if available. Kind of sounds like he possibly could be. It all depends. Toes are kind of weird in the sense of when you can kind of get back and everything like that, and balance is the main issue with them, not so much pressure and stuff like that. In his place, a blast from the past, Yankee legend himself, outfielder Billy McKinney. His contract was selected from AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and he will be joining the roster. I know it's pretty interesting, and I go back to something we talked about Monday, Kyle. I do prefer the Yankees to go out and maybe get somebody from a big league roster for this. I can't be too upset, though, and I do agree with Boone when he said this. McKinney's at least earned the shot to at least play at the replacement level. He got off very badly in April, but really not even April, so much the first couple weeks, and then since then has absolutely raked at AAA. So more than I'd say more than deserving. I'm kind of with Boone there to at least get the shot. You know what I mean, to do the replacing. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. We're looking at a Yankee outfield that will be McKinney, Cabrera.
Bader's close.
Yeah, Bader is surprisingly close, but he can't come off till midweek next week either, I believe.
Said tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow?
Well, he's not gonna.
Okay.
He's too far behind, but yeah, it is tomorrow. Because I think it was retroactive too.
I didn't see the retroactive on his placement.
Yeah, he said he was eligible to come off tomorrow, but he thinks he needs more time. But he was like running in the outfield yesterday. Good to see. Said no pain, nothing.
Yeah, it was weird when I was doing the notes. Very little updates on like a lot of guys, and that's both for the Yankees and Mets from what we have been usually talking about. So like the injury lists are fairly short here today, to be completely honest, on both ends of it. So that's good. So I mean, I guess for the next few days, it's more likely Cabrera, McKinney. He doesn't want to do Stanton out there.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play him out there yet.
IKF then?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, I'm for it. Why not? IKF's done well out there, in my opinion. It's just that I think you're going to have to... God, that outfield gets shaky quick, though, because IKF is pretty much island at left field.
It's not a major league outfield. No. We can be honest right here.
Correct, yeah.
But hopefully it's a short time. I think, if I'm guessing, I think Bader's back that Tuesday against the Mets.
Yeah.
Because he got that off day Monday.
Correct.
So I think Tuesday. So, yeah, we shouldn't see the outfield like this too long. But, I mean, it is a little bit of a concern, especially if you get a lot of fly balls out there from one of these starting pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
You got to kind of hold your breath if we're going to see quite a few errors.
I didn't mean to laugh at that unintentional pun the way things have gone here. So I did admittedly kind of jump the gun, but Aaron Boone said Cortes is on the IL already, so I don't know what the hell the really run with it as. But we knew that was probably going to come here. He wasn't going to throw for 2 weeks, at least with the shoulder inflammation, as I'm just going to call it at this point. It is what it is. I don't know why they're running away from what it is at this point. And then also Ryan Weber, a sign of more or less bad news as they await the official results from his imaging, but transferred to the 60-day IL. That's more or less also a corresponding move for McKinney since he wasn't on the 40-man. 60-day IL guys aren't considered on the 40-man. But at the same token, not a good sign for Ryan Weber here moving forward.
Yeah, my guess is he's going to be flying out to Los Angeles probably to get a second opinion like they always do. And I'm sure they're going to try rehab, but I think we all know where this is probably heading.
Yeah, and not to compare the two, right? But you don't want to do what happened with DeGrom and the Rangers here, where you do the sit and wait and hope process, and next thing you know, you not only lose DeGrom because he has to get Tommy John for really all of this year, but now officially all of next year because of the way the timeline is. So, I would assume they kind of jump on it with Weber just to get ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, after this, too, I'm going to do something because I'm kind of interested. I'm going to go back through the last 4 or 5 years and see how many Yankee pitchers have had Tommy John, because it has been a lot.
I don't blame you. I mean,
it's so odd to keep seeing this. I know what happens to other teams, like we're talking about, but I bet you the Yankees are up there with the most Tommy John surgeries in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the elbow, and we know how not so much Matt Blake, but Larry Rothschild was just in love with the slider and everything, and that puts a ton of pressure on elbows and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I've always just been intrigued more or less with the Yankees injury thing as an overall unit, not so much even specifically maybe the UCL type stuff. But
here's what I got to say: who's next?
Okay.
Because that's really how it is. That's how it goes in Yankee land. Who's next?
I have an idea. Unfortunately,
Severino?
No. Just given his history, Eileen Canely, something popping up with Canely.
No.
I don't want it to happen, but it's just with the history.
That would be so. He's overcame so much in the last couple of years.
I know. All right, let's head over here, talk a little bit about the doubleheader today, and then preview the Red Sox series here a little bit. So the Yankees did switch up the rotation. So Severino was supposed to go the night game. And here's the weird thing that they won't necessarily say it out loud to us, but did you know that technically today's game is actually the first game at 4:05? Kind of wild, I guess, in a way, but the Yankees switched up their slots in the rotation for this. So Severino will go game 1 at 4:05 against Lance Lynn. Who stays what would have been his Wednesday or first, either way. For the White Sox in Game 2 at 7:05, Mike Clevenger will get the start. Randy Vasquez will go for the Yankees. So, yeah, we kind of, I don't know if we want to say we spoke it into existence, but, I think having technically an extra day probably helped make that decision and stuff like that. So, that'll be interesting. I feel oddly confident about the doubleheader today. I think it's a clean sweep of the doubleheader. Lance Lynn has been bad so far this year, to put it bluntly. And same with Clevenger. I know he's settled in a little bit, but he still offers up a lot of meatballs. So hopefully a couple struggling players can maybe get a couple of those today against both those guys and figure out especially looking ahead, but before we do the outright look ahead, Kyle, what do you think about today?
Well, my only concern is every time there's a former Yankee on the mound, they get shut down.
That's true.
So I'm just worried about the Lance Lynn game. And Lance Lynn, you look at his numbers and you're like, man, the Yankees should be able to win this game. But every time you look at numbers in Major League Baseball, that doesn't always mean anything. But I do agree with you. They should be able to get a sweep. But I'm also concerned with Aaron Boone's lineup management, or I guess I should say, the front office telling him and the medical staff that, Stanton can't DH both games, which is hilarious to me. Or Josh Donaldson can't play both games. If that's happening, I mean, the lineup's already short with Judge out. You take Stanton out too, or Donaldson. It's like, man, is this offense going to struggle again? So I don't
think he has that option today, though, to do that.
If they do that, it's just stupid. He DHs. Why give him the night off?
So do one at each. I think realistically, the only in my mind position today or spot in the lineup today that should change should be catcher, and that's just the out of principle thing that you don't want a guy catching 18 innings.
But fine, I'll be positive this time.
Oh,
sweep.
You don't have to,
even though I think it's going to be a split.
Okay. I respect that. So this weekend against the Red Sox, a team that this is where the Yankees, I think, could get caught up in doing a lot of the shenanigans that we're used to seeing them do. Is really, to be fair, since the Girardi era began and playing to your opponent, they finally have come back to earth slightly, even though they've now gotten back above 500. Weird, either way. So tomorrow night, Friday, 7:05. On Garrett Whitlock against to be announced, and that's the thing with the Yankees.
Should be Garrett Cole.
It's all TBA technically on the site, but the two pitchers who you can expect to see anyway are going to be Garrett Cole and Domingo Germán somewhere in there. So
as long as those as long as those were actually cramps that Garrett Cole had on Saturday when he was pulled.
Fair.
Unless the Yankees are covering up something here again. Garrett Cole should be the starter because that would be 6 days removed from his last start.
Right.
But it's TBA. So,
I guess technically Clark Schmidt would be in one of these spots too then on Sunday, technically, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be a 5-day rest period.
Yeah, it would be a Sunday start, yep.
Yeah, how about that? But they're TBA for now. So Saturday, the Yankees will see Tanner Houck. That's 7:35 on Fox, and then Sunday Night Baseball, 7:10 on ESPN. It'll be Brian Bayo going for the Red Sox.
All night games.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear people complain about that, even though this is the Yankees' first on Fox and second on ESPN this year. So,
second on Fox last Saturday, Dodgers.
It's true. I forget that we got blacked out for that though.
Yeah.
But either way, I got blacked out for it. Did you get blacked out for it?
No.
Huh.
That's TBS. TBS does the blackouts.
No, I know that, but I got blacked out on Fox last week. Man, I'm not gonna question it on a podcast at this point. God, do I feel this confident? No, I think the Yankees get a split. I think the Yankees win the series, but split with the Red Sox 2-1. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Sweep.
You're on sweep? I wanted to so bad.
Their defense against Cleveland and just in general.
Yeah.
Look, Devers is down to 240. You wouldn't expect that from Devers. Yeah. But, I mean, he still has a bunch of homers. But, yeah, that offense doesn't really concern.
That team is...
They're not getting the pitching, and
yeah,
the offense is just, once in a while it'll break out. But
the fact that they are above... Well, no, actually, they would be at 500 now since they lost.
They've really been slumping.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think, we mentioned a few weeks ago, a lot of these teams should be finally figuring out what they actually are type thing happening. I think that's happening with Boston.
So, yeah, 31-31, 13 games out now behind the Rays. And they were just 7 or 8 a week and a half ago. So, yeah, they've really, they're 3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah. How about that?
Yep.
So.
Did you see, though, quickly, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, you're good.
Last night there was a thing, somebody tweeted it out, that every team in the AL East would be in first place in the AL Central.
Not anymore, though.
Yeah, every team is under 500 in the AL Central.
I thought the Twins were above still.
No, they lost last night. They're under 500.
Oh, Christ alive.
Every single team is under 500. So every American League East team would be in first place in the Central. That was a stat last night going around Twitter.
Jesus.
Yep, the Twins are 31-31. So technically it would be a tie with the Red Sox if they were in that division. But that is how bad the AL Central is. The Guardians are in second at 28-33.
Isn't Detroit in third?
Yep, 26-33. Just terrible baseball going on in the Central.
I have so many questions about that division.
And the hottest team right now is the White Sox.
Because life doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know if you saw that.
I knew that was the case still like a week ago, but I figured the way everything was kind of shaken out there for the past couple of days, I didn't think that was the case anymore. But
wins, lose tonight, every team under 500. Unreal.
That's gross.
What is it, June 8th?
Something. Yeah, it's June 8th. How about that? It's gross. Speaking of gross, the Mets have already locked in a lost series to the Braves, and they are losers of 5 straight games. Normally, this is where we would come in and start saying that it's the offense, but really, to be fair, I mean, I guess
besides last night, it's still the offense.
I guess you could make the case that Tuesday was a little bit of the offense too, but really, the reason to me why they have lost the past couple games has really been the bullpen. Bullpen kind of more or less blew up the past couple games, to the point that there was. I think we might have that rivalry reignited between the two teams a little bit at this point, between the Mets and the Braves for sure. But it's just one of those things. We mentioned it, I'd say briefly, a week or a week and a half or so ago now? Probably 2 weeks, actually, where, and it's funny because he got the loss last night, but Brooks O'Reilly comes back. Okay, that's good for a bullpen that kind of needs it. But we did talk a little bit about how it might be really that bullpen they need to go out and get some pieces for. And if there's one thing at least these 2 games have probably shown us, it's the bullpen does need a lot of work. Sure, you have big arms in there, big name arms, big talent arms in there, but simply put, I wouldn't say they can't be trusted right now, but they aren't putting out their best product at the end of the day.
Yeah, Scherzer had 10 strikeouts last night, but
it was in the 3rd all-time double-digit strikeout games.
But you look at the box score, 5 innings, he gave up 11 hits. And he's actually the one that blew the 4-1 lead to let them tie it. Then they went up 5-4, and I think it was Ottavino, gave up the lead. So it wasn't just the bullpen, but you are right. They ended up losing because of Ottavino giving up the home run.
Really, I'm talking about the course of really the 2 games.
But Scherzer, I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he had 10 strikeouts, but still, I mean, the runs matter. So don't give up 11 hits. So, yeah, I know, but two games is a small sample size. Other than that, the offense has been the bigger issue in my mind.
Yeah, and
23rd.
Tuesday, they only had 4 hits. Yeah. And they were all in the 2nd inning or 3rd inning? 3rd inning when they got to Bryce Elder. I think they were all in the 3rd inning.
Yep. I don't know. It's still unbelievable to me how this offense can struggle.
But to that end, short memory style here, they really did have a really good game last night offensively. Everybody, stand a few of the usual subjects, kind of got into it, right? And Brett Beatty was more early in the game. Alvarez was late in the game. It was good seeing those 2 guys have it. I thought
Tommy Pham.
That's where I was getting with is like, if these role guys like Tommy Pham, right, can kind of get going here a little bit, I think it solves part of the issue with the offense, right? In that, you can stick somebody at say the 7 or 8 spot, and at least they're putting up competitive at bats. And that's big because it flips back to the top of the order just way easier. You know what I mean? Now, that being said, you still have your usual guys out here struggling pretty bad. Vogelbach his one at bat, I believe was the 4th inning. No, it was the 3rd inning. 3rd inning where the Mets dinged up Bryce Elder on Tuesday, and he just looked lost up there. And
should have saw him last night in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Mets get the leadoff man on. What does he do? Comes up, grounds into an inning or double play.
I was admittedly a little bit busy with other obligations last night.
Yeah, thank God for multiple TVs.
Yeah.
Or else I would have missed that.
I hear you.
But I think I forgot who said this the other day, but somebody said the reason why the Mets are struggling is because every player is underperforming compared to last year, but Pete Alonso. Yes, the kids like Alvarez has stepped up big, but most of the regular veterans are not performing the way they did last year.
And that is correct. That portion was correct. In fact, Pete Alonso is at or above his normal pace.
Yep.
Now, about him, though, it looks like they have appeared to avoid disaster.
CT scan today, though.
So they are going more in.
Buck said after the game.
Okay. So I didn't know that they were doing more imaging. Day-to-day, so Well, that'll be interesting then, because I don't know if day-to-days will be the right classification.
I know, they said it last night, but if he's getting a CT scan, then...
His x-rays came back negative, so that's more or less... Now that's making me wonder if they didn't like swelling or something like that did pop up on the x-ray, but... get hit by Charlie Morton on Wednesday, and there was a lot of... I'll go ahead and say this. And this goes back to my overall stance on a lot of things. A guy like Charlie Morton's not going to intentionally hit a guy. And if he were, you would actually know. Right, and that's what I'm getting at here. The fact that there are some people on Mets Twitter that thought that was intentional. The fact that Braves fans were booing when he left the game hurt. That really pisses me off. And...
But you got to keep in mind, it's not just their fan base.
I know, but
many fan base. Even the Yankee fans are awful.
Yeah, I know, and it boils my blood when stuff like that happens. And kudos to Charlie Morton for literally going and finding Pete Alonso in the bowels of Truist Park. I guess he couldn't find him there for a minute because he was getting X-rays, and he was able to find him afterwards. But they hashed it out, and. Obviously it appears as though for the time being everything is simmered, obviously. Pete knew it wasn't intentional, and Charlie wanted to make sure he knew that and everything like that.
There's a runner on with 2 outs.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to... Like I said, if a guy like Charlie Morton, who is a beyond veteran in this league at this point, you'll know if he's going to bean you. You know what I mean? Like,
let's hit Pete Alonso and move a runner in scoring position. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing to me, the fans out there from all different teams that think... when their players get hit, that is intentional.
Right.
Like, even as a Yankee fan, when Aaron Judge got hit, what was it, in 2018, in the wrist?
Yeah.
Did I think that was intentional? Absolutely not.
No.
It's amazing that people just don't understand the logic behind pitching.
The only wrist shot I think that's ever been intentional might have been Urena's on Acuna. That's just because Urena is just a dart without feathers. So, but different podcast for a different day there. So... I mean, if he's going to have to get a CT scan, I don't know, because the website this morning even listed him as day-to-day. So I don't know what.
What did you think about Pete Alonso saying "throw it again" from the dugout after he homered?
Well, that's what I'm getting at with the whole series. It's kind
and they're 0-2 since he did that, so you might want to be quiet, Pete.
Yeah, sure, I guess. But
it's true. I mean,
I don't maybe necessarily disagree in the grand scheme of it, but. I think this paves the way. Probably at least we'll see for sure Vientos today. Presumably, I would imagine. I would hope.
We probably won't.
Well,
we'll see Daniel Vogel back though.
Thank God it's at least not in the fielding.
I don't know if you've noticed too, because you probably, like you said, you had other things going on last night. But SNY keeps showing the Mets bench when they're losing, and you should see every single guy has their head down.
Yeah.
They're just like, there's such, it seems like they're in a really bad spot. Their dugout's not, there's no energy. There's nothing going on in the dugout right now. It's like every guy is just down. They're sleeping. They know they're losing again. It's just like, it's bad to see, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like they all have their heads down like this on the dugout railing. Vogelback's just sitting there. It's like unreal. And I don't know. I think it's all right to be a little worried now. We're in June.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I have a tough time doing the outright panic button thing, but
they're now 4.5 behind the Marlins.
If you can't get your team at this point playing on the same gear, you're gonna need someone's got to change at the end of the day, right? Someone's got to change if at this point they aren't So, like, look at yesterday. Yesterday's kind of the perfect example of it. The offense is finally consistently producing. And we can clump Scherzer into it a little bit, but, like, if the other side of the ball here can't get it together for a full game, what's the point? And then on the opposite end of it, right, when the pitching's been on for him, the offense has been practically non-existent, like Tuesday in a way.
I think Michael Kay said it well, because, of course, he talks about the Mets, too. It's a New York radio show, but he said bad teams never get consistent on both sides. And that's really that's been the problem. Like we just said, whenever the offense is good, the pitching's not. When the pitching's good, the offense is not. That might just be because they're not a good team. And it's okay to say that. They're 30-32, 62 games in. They're 7.5 out of first place, which doesn't sound bad. Lose today, though, it's 8.5. And not only that, they're not in second place. They're in third place. Mm-hmm. And they've had these stretches where they lose 4 or 5 in a row. They get swept by these bad teams. I mean, something's got to change. We keep saying that, but it hasn't. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when is it going to change? And it doesn't get any easier. They get the Pirates next. The Pirates are no easy team to beat. Mm. So I don't know what this team is, like, what's going to get this team going. What can change?
Yeah, I mean
these veteran guys are on the mound too, and they're still losing.
I mean, the rest of the month of June for them it's an interesting schedule, right? So they get done with the Pirates this weekend, 2 with the Yankees next week, then 3 next weekend with the Cards, 3 at Houston, 3 at Philly, back home for 4 against the Brewers, and then they wrap up that last day of June into July with the Giants at home. So
Brewers are tough too.
The rest of the month doesn't get relatively easier now. I will say this. If there was ever a collective maybe stretch of games coming up here to right the ship against quality teams, it probably is the Mets schedule. Specifically, you get past the Yankees series from the Cardinals through the Phillies. Those are 3 teams in the Cardinals, Astros, and Phillies that will tell you out front they are underperforming as well. The Astros are the interesting one where I'd say to everybody outside of maybe Houston will say that they are not underperforming. And in fact, it's probably more so the Rangers overperforming at this point. But if that's the mindset you have, I will lump you in to that category. So it's going to be interesting here. You mentioned the Brewers a little bit. They
already got swept by them in the beginning of the year.
They're really inconsistent, though. They've become a very inconsistent team so far this year. To the point that, the Pirates all of a sudden are thrust back into this division race in the NL Central because of it. And
do you know the Mets are as bad as the Phillies right now? They're only half game up, and they're only one more extra win.
That's what I'm getting at here. Is the Philly? That's what I'm getting at. I think at the end of this discussion is the fact that really the biggest series for them is probably that Phillies series, the 23rd through the 25th.
Only 4.5 up on the last place Nationals.
Right. I mean, maybe it's a broader conversation too at this point to have, because it's not like Atlanta has exactly lit the world on fire either this year. I mean,
and eventually, if Atlanta does run away with it, and the division comes out of reach, you're going to focus on that wild card. Yeah. But right now, they're not even in a wild card.
Yeah.
And I know we've got 100 games left. They played 62. Yeah. So there's a lot of time left. But at some point, if you don't start turning it around and start winning games and getting hot like the Yankees have over the last month, I mean, at some point, what is there to do? What is there to say? What do you do?
There's nothing. Nothing, I don't think.
Just keep playing 500 ball?
Yeah. The sad part is, to me anyway, and this is, I think we can really jump in and do the Pirates preview for them. If they get out of the next couple games, and I'm including within this before they get to the Cardinals, the New York Yankees in this, if they're able to come out in salvage getting to 500 over this stretch of 10 games, I think that's a big win, because then you go into those, like I said, that's an important stretch coming up afterwards where it does set you up for, to be honest, it sets you up for success. Okay? Obviously, we for sure don't know either team's pitching plans for that 2-game set against the Yankees next week, for either the Yankees or the Mets. I don't see a way either team sweeps each other in that. That's just my opinion on it. And maybe that'll change once I see pitching matchups. I just don't see how that's possible in the way early front of this, right? Pittsburgh lost a series against Oakland this week. Okay, so they're going to be playing, I'd imagine, semi-pissed off ball against them. So, what's your plan here? I think it all hinges on today. Okay, they have the rubber match against Atlanta. They have the rubber match against Atlanta, 7:20 on SNY. Verlander versus Spencer Strider. And you want to talk about a guy who you probably don't want to face in this crucial of a game, it's probably Spencer Strider at this point, right?
Especially when the offense is struggling.
Right. I'd say the only positive is Strider hasn't looked great the past 2 starts. There are some cracks there, but
10 strikeouts tonight easily.
Okay, that's
strikeout machine. He does it against everybody.
Is that your lock of the night?
Yeah. Take the over on Strider's strikeouts. It works every time.
I don't know about that as somebody who lives in that area, but
it at least voids for me when I'm on underdog fantasy.
I'll give you credit. But tonight's a big game, and I don't know what my brain's really thinking with it right now. I think part of me is like, I want to will them to get a victory, but I just don't know if I actually foresee that.
Yeah, I said coming in that it would be a sweep, so I'm going to stick with it. But one thing I want to say is, remember, what was it, like 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago? They won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
They had those come-from-mind victories. They had energy. Pete Alonso said, like, swore in the mic, hyped up the crowd.
He was doing lewd acts on the dugout rail.
Yeah, like everything was great at the time in Matt Land for that week, and then all of a sudden they're back to normal. You would have thought right then and there that 5-game winning streak would have, carried the momentum into another series and, got things going, the turnaround of the year. And like I said, they took those steps forward, and now that 5-game winning streak meant nothing because they're back to where they were in the beginning, and all the ground that they gained is gone. So, yeah, I don't know what this team's going to do. All I know is they better change things quickly before that division gets out of reach or before they fall too far behind these other teams for a wild card spot. Because what are they, 3 out right now of a wild card spot, I think? I'd have to go check right now, quick.
Sorry, I was dealing with the...
Sorry, 2.5 out.
Okay. Yeah, I was dealing with a little bit of
Giants.
Stuff over here.
The San Francisco Giants are ahead of them. Yeah. That's how bad the Mets have been playing.
So, yeah,
the Reds are right there, a game behind.
Yeah. I mean, the Reds have been rejuvenized.
Padres too, game behind. See, all those teams are all bunched together. So that's why I'm saying if they don't start winning games, it's going to be such a cluster to get in, even in a wild card spot. So, hopefully they turn the corner.
There's a lot of random minor league pitching deals going on right now. It's catching me off guard. I apologize, but neither the Yankees nor the Mets are being involved in it. It's just the names being tossed around right now are just Justin Anderson's making a reappearance all of a sudden. I'm thrown off. All right, for the Pirates series, here's what the Mets have. Tomorrow night, 7:05 on SNY. To be announced on Saturday, and to be announced on Sunday. But they do know who they'll face, at least as we stand right now. Friday night will be Rich Hill. Saturday afternoon will be Yohan Avevedo. And then on Sunday afternoon will be Mitch Keller.
There's an L.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, this is a Pirates team that, to me, that offense is legit. The pitching still I don't trust. I'll go 2 of 3 for the Mets, but I wouldn't be surprised at any result at this point. It's just one of those things where it's like, I think it's so much hinges on what happens today, Thursday, with that rubber match against Atlanta, that I don't know how to gauge that team for the weekend if they lose tonight and they're just down to the dumps. You know what I mean? Like, they're just done.
They get swept today, as I said. They get swept by the Pirates.
Oh, wow.
They're 30-35, and we hear Monday morning that Buck Showalter's been fired.
I don't think that helps if that happens. Wow. You think Buck would be fired on Monday? You really think that?
Mid-June.
Wow. Okay, then.
And the reason why it would happen...
Sure.
...is they just need a change right now. They need a spark. They've tried bringing up the young guys. That hasn't really worked. So what other spark can you do? A manager change. There's nothing left you can do. And if they get swept back-to-back, I mean, isn't this rock bottom yet? We're mid-June. We're almost mid-June.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know if I like the way you're putting it, even though it's factual.
Buck Showalter's a good guy. I really like him.
Yeah.
And I know this is not all on him. But
I'll let you cook. I have to get back to the panel here.
But at some point, as a Major League Baseball team, you're not winning games and you're underperforming. I mean, at that point, you turn to the coaching. You turn to the manager position just for a spark. And we've seen that happen before. Guys have been fired, and teams go on to win games. Guess what? Happened last year with Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
Phillies were nowhere near making a World Series. Won a lot of games down the stretch in July and August, even September. Got into the World Series, fell short. But that manager change, bringing Rob Thompson in, really sparked the team.
Yeah, I guess. You're not wrong.
So,
not wrong.
Might not come Monday, but that's just me talking, obviously. But if they keep losing games, I think it could realistically happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think Monday would be it's an interesting trigger day. I would put it to you that way. I don't know if that would be the right.
And Monday's an off day. That's why I said that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, touch on Rochester and Syracuse here quickly. We'll begin with Syracuse only because there's nothing to report. They were one of the teams that have just been hit by the air quality issues. Haven't played at all. One of the games against Lehigh Valley has been canceled because they don't face each other again in the first half of the season. Doubleheader on Saturday to make up one. So there's nothing really doing there. Obviously, as long as things improved, Saturday might be a day I get out to the doubleheader. Doubleheaders are always fun with minor league baseball. For the most part, Syracuse and one of the teams always do it. It's single admission. Go in, sit down, 14 innings of guaranteed baseball. Can't beat it. I know their game is still on as planned tonight as well. So, knock on whatever wood you can find, I suppose, that they're able to play it. For Rochester, you want to talk about an absolute hot streak of games they've been on here for the past 2.5 weeks. They were, I can't remember at one point, were they like 11-20 at one point or something like that? And they're 28-29 now. They're at the 10th spot in the International League standings. And I know, again, it may not seem like much, but, that deficit was once like 18.5, 19 games back. They've clawed themselves back to 12 games back of top seed Norfolk right now. Taking the 2 opening games against the Who Sox. In those games, 11 runs on Tuesday, 12 runs yesterday on Wednesday. Just, offensively and pitching-wise, too. I don't want to bash the pitching here or not bring them up because the pitching's been great, too. But that offense has really been kind of that sticking point all year where it's been really good. And the past 2 games have been huge, huge showings for that team. Shout out to Matt Adams and some of those big leaguers that are on the team, right? And I saw a picture of Matt Adams from the game Tuesday, and I've noticed it too anyway from the games I've been to and everything. He's just having a fun time. He's a guy who I know wants to get back to the big leagues, but it looks like he is legitimately having a fun time playing baseball in the Red Wings uniform right now.
Yeah, the Wings are hot, as they say, and they've been hot.
Red hot Wings.
Yeah, good to see them scoring a lot of runs. I was looking at their lineup the other day. Their lineup, has some veteran guys in it.
What do you mean by some? It's like 2/3.
Has some guys, yeah, but known guys, I should say. Like the casual fan wouldn't know Richie Martin.
Well, I know Luis Torrens.
Yeah. Guy, casual fans wouldn't know that. But they'd probably know, the Matt Adams, the Fran Reyes, guys like that.
Franimal.
But yeah, it's good to see. Like I said, our last show, I think they're over 500 by the end of this month.
It's definitely, it might be over 500 by the end of the next week. Might be over 500 by the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And, we've talked about here a bunch because of the way it is now, right? It's tough because of the 2 split seasons now, they more or less do. But, look, I think getting hot right now is ideal. And, Washington because really, to be frank, how good Washington has played overall compared to where they were last year, which I know isn't saying maybe a ton, but at the same token, I mean, improvement's improvement, right? There haven't been like a ton of like roster moves throughout the whole entire system really at this point. What's going to be interesting is if he stays hot at Double-A, their top prospect, James Woods, I think you might be seeing in Rochester at some point in July. And that will shake up the outfield a little bit, but I guess maybe if there's one spot with the team that kind of puts you in question a little bit, it might be the outfield. But Derek Hill's been on fire at the top of the order. Travis Blankenhorn's been just the steady hitter that Travis Blankenhorn usually is at this point. It's been interesting, too. Like, Richie Martin was in the outfield a little bit last week, I noticed. I think they're kind of testing different stuff, maybe with different guys, whenever this situation might arise that James Wood does end up with Rochester at some point this year. So that remains to be seen. They're in Worcester the rest of the week. And it's been interesting because it's been one of the Northeast kind of series that hasn't been affected at all by the air quality because they're over by Boston, obviously, for that. And you look throughout everywhere else, really. Scranton, Wilkes-Barre's had to postpone.
They just postponed the Nationals Diamondbacks game in D.C.
Did they really? That's pretty interesting. So that in theory puts Norfolk in jeopardy then today as well. I know they're home this week. Or no, they're actually on the road this week. But it's interesting, nonetheless, how this has really just affected everything up and down. Really, at this point, frankly, the East Coast. I have friends who live down outside of Norfolk, and he was talking about how, because he worked in China for a couple of years, how the air quality to him was reminding him of being back in China. It's kind of wild. I mean, it's still affecting teams. I know, like I said, up here it's a little bit better quality-wise. Still not probably where it should be, but, I guess luckily Rochester hasn't been affected by it, and hopefully Syracuse isn't going to be affected by it tonight either.
Yeah, you don't want another day off. I mean,
No.
they already had the Monday off for a regular off day, and if they don't play today, that's 4 days
That'll
off.
be 4 straight days, yeah.
But let's just throw a prediction out there on the Red Wings.
Yeah.
They sweep the series.
You think they get all 6?
Yep.
That's just tough to do, though. I mean, I don't disagree with it. This is the way they've been playing. The Who Sox, to be fair, have kind of fallen through the standings, so I think it comes down to pitching a little bit. I know they had to do bullpen yesterday. Corey Abbott got called back up yesterday. Or, well, technically today, but his spot yesterday went to Anthony Banda, another big league name.
Yep.
So there was a spot start there yesterday. It ended up kind of just being a bullpen game. I know he went, I think it was like 2+ innings technically. And then at that point you had Baldonado came in for a little bit. I forget the other one. Then I know, what's his face? Another big league name. Why am I struggling with it? Can see him in my brain right now. Either way, I can't remember. I do have an update, though, inadvertently, before we get out of here, on Khalil Lee and where his talents have.
What, has he been arrested too?
No, he's playing for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs in the Atlantic League. So I went down a rabbit hole last night and surprised there he is. So
another random thing before we head out.
Sure.
Is anyone ever going to sign Zach Britton?
I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder if there's a bigger issue.
Or do teams just kind of know that, like, his stuff hasn't been great? Health is, he hasn't been too healthy lately.
Like I said, it kind of makes me wonder if there's either the Conforto thing where there was just he needed more time healing and there was another surgery needed, or what. But
you haven't even heard anything on him. Not even rumors.
Is he alive? Is he like Ben Rodvet? Is he real?
I just know he has a lot of kids because he used to play with Tommy Canley and he used to say, "Oh, my kids."
By the way, does he have a brother?
Yes.
Buck?
I don't know his name, but that might be.
I think he's the manager at Norfolk.
Oh, really?
Swear to God.
He does have a brother because they were talking about him and Tommy. Him, Tommy, and Mike Talkman played video games together.
Oh, Christ.
Mike Talkman's playing well for the Cubs.
Sockman. He struck out yesterday, though, in the 9th when they needed him. Yes, he did.
Couple walks. He walks a lot.
Sockman.
On-base percentage is up there.
Where's number 40, though? Odd number for a baseball player in my mind.
Yeah.
40 gets me weird. Even like Severino wearing it, I'm like, doesn't look right. But all right, that'll take care of fresh takes. See, now that's where my brain's at. Concrete jungle. Kyle, enjoy the weekend. I know we got basketball again tomorrow night, tons of baseball, so I know you'll Stanley Cup tonight. You'll be busy.
Yeah, let's just hope it's not another boring, miserable game for Florida. I mean, they got to win tonight or it's over.
Yeah, it's true. All right, that'll do it for Concrete Jungle. We'll talk with everybody on Monday. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Be safe out there. And just go Yankees, Mets, Red Wings, and S-Mets.